Beauty Talk. So today I'm going to be reviewing the Isamaya Industrial palette, and this is going to be the Industrial 1.0 palette. I actually got this when it first released. I wasn't able to swatch this in Sephora. I kind of just impulse bought it, and I do want to review it because I know the Industrial 2.0 palette is out, and I'm going to give you some pro makeup artist tips and tricks on how to make these types of pops of color palettes work with your everyday makeup looks and also with your fancier, more glamorous makeup looks. Okay, before we start, I want to let you guys know about my school called Hyperrealacademy at hyperrealacademy.com, where I teach permanent makeup and cosmetic medical tattooing. So I make the majority of my money doing permanent makeup and permanent beauty, cosmetic tattooing, and I teach students everywhere, online and in person, in my New Jersey locations. So if you guys are interested in making six figures doing permanent makeup, I'm the person to talk to. Go on hyperrealacademy.com, shoot me an email, and I will get back to you within one day. And I do offer scholarships to my students that want to take in-person classes in New Jersey and get licensed as a permanent makeup artist. Okay, so I'm gonna start this demo by just showing you guys the palette real quick. And this is such a cute palette. There's a very specific aesthetic to it. It's really edgy, it's fun. The packaging is unique, and that unfortunately will bring up the cost by a lot. But when you open what's inside, there's enough variety where you can get a bunch of different looks. I'm just gonna start by doing a basic contour, and this is where we have to go into our neutral palettes from any other palette. I always go back to this one sample from Too Faced. I don't even care, like, this works. So I'm gonna be using the Chocolate Soleil color as my contour shade. It's just like a very, very light neutral contour. It's leaning a little bit too warm for my liking, but it's nice. Sweeping the contour up will give you that really nice high fashion contour lifted effect. Shading underneath the fronts of the eyebrows will create more intensity. And then I'm gonna take a darker matte brown shade and I'm just gonna further intensify the outer corner of the eye. It's really easy. You really don't have to put much thought into it, just generally sweep up. Okay, and now I'm gonna go into my Isamaya palette. I'm gonna go into this chocolate brown shade that's very metallic. I really like this one. It's subtle enough where you can make it more wearable, but it's also bright enough where you can give it a real editorial kick if you want to. If you want to pair it with a black base, or if you want to pair it with a bright red color, you know, something that goes with the brown. I think this is a really versatile color. So I'm gonna take this one and I'm gonna drop it right into my outer corner lower lash line. I'm gonna blend this 2/3 of the way in towards the inner corner of the eye, okay? I'm gonna take the deeper, there's two olive-ish shades, so I'm not gonna use that one. I'm gonna use the deeper olive color that has a very golden yellow shift to it, so I'm gonna use this one. I will press this color directly onto the eye. Okay, we're gonna blend out the edge of this one. It's a very beautiful olive color, but if you don't have a deep dark base underneath, it's hard for it to really come through, and it's hard for the gold reflex to show up. So that's why I would like to do a second layer. All right, so we're gonna do a second layer, and this time we're not gonna put as much product on. We're gonna concentrate the product to the lower portion of the eyelid. So you get a smoky eye effect without needing to use a pencil underneath. I like using a pencil for smoky eyes. I totally understand that some people just don't want to bother with it. And I think if you have a formula like this one, if you have a palette like this one, it's really easy to just bust out a smoky eye without trying all that much. I think you can honestly stop at this point and put your eyelashes on and you're Gucci. But we can keep going. We can make this look a little bit more interesting. And of course, I would like to show off more colors in the palette, so I would like to use more colors. We're gonna be using this golden olive, very, very bright metallic shade, okay? So it looks a little bit, oh my God, it looks a little bit like this. And you can apply these with your finger. I think they're more intense when you apply it with your finger, but you can also apply, see? But you can also apply with a brush. I just like using a brush over using a finger because you get slightly more control when it comes to placing a small area. And I'm just blending that olive, that bright olive, into the deeper olive. And it blends really well because they're in the same color family and they both have golden reflex. Okay, so this is what it looks like. I'm gonna go into this iridescent green yellow shade, and that will be my inner corner. It works really well because everything is kind of gold and kind of green. I think the only thing that isn't really working is kind of my hair color versus the outfit of choice. And I will finish off this look with a winged liner. Okay, so this is gonna be the look for today. Alright, so that's one of the looks from the Isamaya Beauty palette. So for my second look, I'm only going to be using my Isamaya palette. So I'm going to be going into this black shade. So this one is not fully matte, it's not fully satin. It kind of reminds me of a pencil-like texture, but they kind of squished it into a pigment pan. So zooming in, I'm just going to apply this product just like how I would a pencil. And you can use either a large dense brush or a small dense brush. You see the product applies very, very smoothly. And I know a lot of people didn't really like this palette because it doesn't swatch well. And I think the reason why this palette doesn't swatch well is because a lot of the pigments aren't really designed to be swatched. They're meant to be used. So, I mean, I think a lot of these products, they're not really meant to be swatched on the back of your hand. I think they're meant to be used in a variety of different ways. Like for example, this one, this black pigment is so good. And as a makeup artist, real quick, as a makeup artist doing predominantly editorials, what I do for a lot of smoky eye looks is I use a pencil as a base, and the pencil really grips the product, and it also dries down to a matte so it doesn't budge. And that's what I like to use as my base. This is such a good palette because it's the only palette I've ever known to really include a pencil creamy formula. And you can drop a few drops of Inglot Duraline if you want it to be a little bit smoother. I'm gonna apply a little bit of the navy blue right over top. And I mixed a little bit of that navy blue with a bit of contour brown. And I do want it to look a little sullen, a little grungy. And then I'm going to add that midnight blue shade to the darkest part of the outer corner. And I'm gonna blend that in towards the center of the eye. So I'm using predominantly the two pencil formulas right now. There's a reason why this palette has been one of the mainstays in my kit. They're just so good for editorial looks. And I'm actually gonna drop a little bit of that midnight blue into the inner corner. So once I drop the inner corner highlight in, it's gonna really pop out. Then I'm gonna take that midnight blue and I'm gonna drop it into the lower lash line. And I'm only going to work from the outside in about a third of the way in. You could leave it as is, and I think it's a really cute, grungy look. And I think after you pop an eyelash on, it'll look really perfect. But now let's add some metallic shine over top. I'm gonna use the bottom shade, this one. So this is kind of like a purplish gunmetal that has a million different color reflex. I'm going to apply this over my dark blue areas. Always use a lighter hand if you're afraid of causing too much fallout. And taking the edge of this brush, I'm going to drop this color into the lower lash line, right over that blue. And then to further clean up the edges, I'm just gonna use a clean brush, and I'm gonna be using this metallic shade right here. So this one is a lighter version of the one on the bottom. Again, these don't really swatch that well. So the bottom shade is gonna be this gunmetal color, while the top shade is gonna be this purplish shifting titanium silver. This one is gonna be more of a purplish titanium shade with reflex. It looks a lot brighter and a lot lighter than the one on the bottom. And I'm just gonna pop that right into the middle of the lid, so it really pops out. And I'm just gonna press it with my fingertips and then keeping everything else a bit dark to maintain that contrast. So this is another pigment that's really easy to apply with the fingers. Okay, and now I'm gonna go into this white shade and I'm gonna pop that into the inner corner to give that blue highlight. And you see how when I push this color over that midnight blue shade, it immediately turns completely blue. This is definitely more of a topper shade. It doesn't look like anything when you just apply it to your bare skin. And I'm just gonna sweep this color towards the center of the lower lash line. And then I'll have a really nice gradient from bright blue to barely there. Okay, so I'm gonna be putting on Girl Next Door from the Kiss Marilyn Monroe collection. So after I pop my lashes on, I'm just gonna take a pen liner and fill in the gap between my natural lashes and my fake lash band. This is the Hourglass lipstick in the shade Trace. So this is all I have on my lip right now. Okay, let me show you guys. Okay, so this is gonna be the look. So I know that this palette is kind of like a palette of bold, punchy colors, and maybe you think you need to supplement it with a neutral palette or a matte palette, but actually you don't necessarily need to supplement this with any palette, because this look created today was completely done with just the Isamaya palette and nothing to supplement. Now for my third look, I'm gonna be doing something green because, you know, I wanna match my shirt. Shrek yourself before you wreck yourself, you get it? I'm going to be going into this nude shade right here. And remember, I have my base already. So I'm just gonna use a wide brush and I'm gonna gently pick up some of that pigment. Oh, it looks really good. And for this, I'm actually going to coat the entire eye. So it's extra sparkly, but again, not too much because the color doesn't really, there's not much color, there's only a lot of reflect. It looks like soft, glistening skin. So if you have oily eyelids, this is kind of a way to get that dewy look without using any cream products, just powder. So now I'm gonna go back into this black shade. And again, this is that creamy black pencil-like texture. For this one, I'm gonna do a cat wing. And I'm gonna go into that black color using my angled brush. And I'm gonna apply it like a gel liner, okay? So I'm gonna start at the outer corner, building a wing. Then I'm going to use the side of the brush to blend it out into a gradient. And remember, treat the black and navy shades as if they were pencils melted down into pan. So don't treat them like eyeshadows, use dense synthetic fibers on them and you'll get the world's most precise application. And now I'm gonna take that same brush, going back into the black shade, I'm going to create a tiny wing in my inner corner, and then I'm gonna drop this black all across the lower lash line. So to balance with the large wing in the back, I'm gonna create a smaller wing in the front, and I'm going to blend this lower lash line out about 2/3 of the way in. And next, I'm gonna take a very small flat brush, and I will go into this shade right here, this super bright iridescent green shade. And this is what I'm going to apply right over the black. And as you can see, it is so bright. It just jumps right out. No setting spray needed, no other products are needed. You just apply this directly over the black shade in order for it to just pop out. Now I'm gonna go into the top shade in the middle. So I'm gonna drop this color right into the inner corner. And I'm gonna sweep that all across my lower lash line. And this is a bit of a dual chrome, I really love it. So this color is more of a teal than a green, and it does have a slight reddish shift. And I really, really, really love this one. So now I can take a clean brush just clean up a little bit. And I'll take whatever's left on my brush and just blend the rest of this color into the wing. And I really like this negative space. I like how I covered the entire eye with that dewy nude shimmer. So it looks really complete without having it be too colorful. So I think I'm just gonna leave it at that. And now I'm gonna put on my lashes. And I've been really loving the Marilyn Monroe Girl Next Door lashes by Kiss, so I'm gonna keep using those. So after getting the lashes on, I'm just gonna take a pen liner and connect the lash band to this inner corner. And now it's gonna look more or less seamless. And I'm gonna do this across the entire eye. And if I can sum up this look in one sentence, it would be Shrek yourself before you wreck yourself. Okay, so this is gonna be the look. All right, so this look is gonna demonstrate how we can use the cream pencil shades to really do a precision application. Now, I saw the second iteration of the Isamaya Industrial palette, and what I really liked about the second campaign is that there is so much more emphasis to the shapes and the creativity of the eye looks. And I thought that the pigments really jumped out a lot. And one of the things that can make an iridescent pigment jump out in both HD film as well as in real life is by putting a sticky, creamy base with a dark color. So that's what I wanted to demonstrate with this look. So this is my demo at a really quick and easy, really simple and fun way to do a precision application using only this palette. I know that the Industrial 2.0 is already out, so I mean, if I had to choose one to recommend over the other, because you shouldn't get both of them, they're very similar, I would recommend the 1.0 over the 2.0. I personally like the Isamaya 1.0 palette way more than the 2.0 palette, just because I think that these colors work a lot more successfully. I think these colors harmonize really well with neutrals as well as with each other. I really like the aesthetic. I like how when she did her campaign with Stephen Klein, these palettes, like the colors really worked with that Stephen Klein aesthetic. Would I recommend this to the average consumer? No, I would not. Price alone has to factor into that. I would not recommend this to the average person. But if you're a makeup artist, if you're looking for something new, this would be a really nice little investment. I don't know if you can test this one in the store. That's also another reason why I wouldn't recommend it, because you can't test it in the store. But all in all, I would rate this palette, personally, I would rate it an 8.5 out of 10. This palette is unique enough where it impresses me. The aesthetic is very on point in my opinion. I think the color story is very well designed, well thought out. I don't think the campaign itself is relevant to the product when I'm reviewing a product, so I'm not going to talk about the campaign. I love the campaign though. But yeah, it's not going to go into my rating. So I'm rating this an 8.5 out of 10 just because these pigments are so interesting. And as somebody who has worked with a lot of makeup, for some reason I ended up reaching for this one the most. Everything in this palette, every single shade is very well thought out. So that's it. Those are my thoughts on the Isamaya Beauty Industrial collection. I really like it. I hope that you guys that can try it out will try it out, and let me know how you guys like your palette. So thank you so much for watching this week's beauty talk. I will see you in the next one.